checking to see if I'm live on Instagram. Did yours pop up, Irina? On Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. Somehow mine didn't. Okay, so I'll go with
The
your
top right corner.
top right corner. Thank you. Yeah, it didn't pop for me. Oh, wait.
I can invite you there as the core.
Yes, if you could do that. Thank you. I'm sorry. The first minute of our live will be very exciting. Okay. On Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. I'm on your live, but I'm not seeing myself. That's okay. All right, let's on Instagram. Here we go. All right, welcome. We'll just make this happen. It's so nice to see you, Irina. Thank you for coming. Before we start talking about Stash, I just want to let everybody know what we're doing here. My name is Shaina Billow. This is the Summer of Stash, and I'm having conversations with some of my good knitting buddies about their stashes and how they deal with yarn. And today we'll talk a little bit about the guilt that we might have around our yarn or lack of, which is refreshing, right? So Irina has an amazing channel on YouTube called Fiberchats, where she interviews different people in the knitting world and creative world, really, because it's not just knitting. You've interviewed a lot of different fiber artists.
Right.
And so definitely give her a subscribe if you are curious about the lives and inner workings of the creative mind. But thank you for being here, Irina.
Thank you. Today actually 4 years of Fiberchats. So today is the 4-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh, happy anniversary. That's so awesome. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, today's the day. I hope you have like a glass of champagne later or something like that.
That's the plan after we're done with the live.
Yes. Oh, amazing. So with the Summer of Stash, we just started a couple weeks ago. I'm challenging people to kind of take on their stash and look at their yarn in new ways, think of things they'd like to knit with their yarn. But also part of what I've been talking about is if yarn isn't making you happy, you don't need to keep it. You can donate it. You can give it to a friend. You can try to sell it on Ravelry or Etsy. So I want to talk to you today about your stash. I'm curious what your stash is like. It's gorgeous. I know.
Part of that, this is a part of my stash. So
yeah, that's the like showcase of stash. Yeah. And then I know I used to have that too, where I'd have a cabinet full of beautiful yarn all organized and then buckets of other stuff that I would go through. Right now everything's in buckets, but I love your yarn. So I want to hear about how you store your yarn, the ones that we're not seeing there in the beautiful display case. And I want to talk to you about how you acquire your yarn, like what inspires you to buy yarn. But yeah, so let's hear.
Well, it's definitely changed over the years, right? So like when I first started and I was discovering beautiful hand-dyed yarns, it was probably more about my connection with dyers. Like I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to touch it. Like I wanted to have yarn from somebody who is across the country from me, like not necessarily just my local yarn store what they have to offer. And so that was like the first couple years was probably like the years of discovery. And I would do this thing where I would buy one skein of each color. Just have it. And then, but back then I also like most of the things that I was knitting were shawls and accessories. So one skein would be perfect, or like a couple different skeins you could combine into a small shawl. And then the longer I was knitted, the more I was discovering garments. And for garments, you need sweater quantities. So for the past few years, I'm probably gonna buy a sweater quantity of yarn that I really like, but I'm also asking myself, like, do I have something at home that might work for that project, right? So
Right.
I'm trying to be a little bit more conscious of what I'm acquiring. However, like when I think of yarn, I'm thinking of like my palette, my color palette, and what can I create with that. So whenever I'm between the projects, you'll find me just standing by this wall and staring at it and seeing and like tagging different skeins and seeing how they look together and imagining what it can become. And it's not just for my own designs but also for other people's designs. Like I'm thinking like, oh, I saw this shawl in these two colors, I wonder how it's going to look in these five colors instead. So I wanted to show you, I just finished yesterday. This was a mystery, and by the way, like if you guys doing Romy Hill's mystery knit along and you haven't seen the last clue, you might want to not look
Spoiler
right,
alert.
but like this is the two color shawl
Wow.
that they created, and I went with like every color of mohair that I had. I mean, not even every color, right? But I just pulled the container that I have with leftover mohair, and I was like, okay, like I'll use this color now, and what I'm gonna do use next. And it was very interesting because it's a mystery knit along, so you don't know what's coming next, what clue is gonna be next, and if you're gonna need more colors, or if like whatever you did was already all the colors you would need, right? So it's like literally feels like you're painter with the palette and you're just mixing the colors, you know. So for me, it's like we talk a lot about consumerism in buying yarn and hoarding, and it's not hoarding if it's yarn. And
Right.
I see it as my collection, I see it as my local yarn store. So, and especially like in times like COVID, right? Like that was essential to have this yarn at your home. So I want people to think like people who feel guilty about all this yarn sitting there not being used, when we talk about like beyond our life expectancy,
Yes.
like we don't think about that in other categories. You would never think about that in like your spice cabinet or your painting cabinet. You know, this is your palette, this is what you create, this is what's going to inspire you. And so I reorganize my stash every once in a while to just remind myself what I have
Hmm.
and get new inspirations. And just because like I was pulling some of the random skeins and it doesn't look as nice anymore. Like,
Right. Yes, I do the same. Yeah.
but like you don't have to empty your closet every year and get rid of everything you have. Like consider it also like maybe it's just not time yet for that specific skein.
That's true. Yes. Well, I guess it also feels, it depends how connected you feel to that skein.
Right.
And yeah, like where your creativity and where you like history, the history of the skein. And if you've been buying, Irina, from like beautiful dyers from across the country and around the globe in your travels, you know, those yarns then end up having more significant meaning than, you know, something you picked up to, like I bought yarn to make a crocheted fire truck for my son, and you know that doesn't have a ton of meaning to me. Like if I don't make the truck, that yarn is gone.
Right.
But yeah, oh, that's so interesting. And
Last
I,
was
yeah,
in Barcelona. There was Barcelona Knits, and there were guys from El Labradal, and there I interviewed them like 3 years ago, and it was first time I got to see them in real life. So I bought three skeins of yarn from them.
yeah,
And I came home and I didn't know what I'm gonna make with it. So they just joined my stash. And then this year, Julie Needs in Paris, she texted me and she's like, "Can you please test my new shawl?" And I cannot say no to Julie. I mean, Julie has been friends. I was part of the dream team for years. So like anytime
oh,
she has something that needs testing, I'll move everything out of my schedule and I'll test for her. So she was test knitting bride shawl, and it's this beautiful lace shawl. It's like a little bigger than half pie, and I needed three skeins of yarn, and I was like, she's good friends with these guys, you know, and it's gonna be so beautiful with this shawl. So it's like it was two stars of Fiberchats combined, you know. I loved it.
yeah, it was faded. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Um, Oh my gosh. Did you finish that recently?
Yeah, and I already gave it to a friend of my son who is a bride to be, and I thought how
Okay.
perfect is that. So she's wearing it very,
Because I remember seeing it in your feed and I thought it was spectacular.
yeah.
And that's so nice to be able to use yarn that had meaning to you and that is connected in that way. Um, so does your stash size change significantly? And actually, one thing you said brought up another question for me. You said you'll move things out of your schedule. How do you organize what you're going to knit, your works in progress?
That
Do
also
you?
changed over the years because I used to be one project girl, and like there was until I'm done with one thing, I would never start anything else. Then I met Martin from Knit 365 blog, and Martin has like 13 to 20 projects at any given time. And I was thinking, like, well, maybe, just maybe, I can have more than one. And at this point, like, I'm looking around and I have three unfinished ones and one that I just finished yesterday. So I'm definitely moving a little bit into like have a few projects on the go. But for me, it's like sometimes it's hard to decide what I'm doing next because there is a lot of like I interview a lot of people. I see a lot of things that about to come out to the market, like that people testing, like I'm getting a lot of test calls. I used to have years when I would do like 30 tests a year. I'm
Wow.
not doing as many this year,
Oh my
but
gosh. Yeah, that's 3 a
like
month.
there
Wow.
are opportunities. There are so many beautiful patterns. I go to knit night at my local yarn store. By the way, Unruly Stitch, 6:30 to 8 every Thursday.
Wow.
If you guys in Massachusetts, so I'll go there and I see like what other people need, and that inspiring. I go to festivals. I see what people wear. I see what people have in their booths, the samples. So it's like there's a lot of inspirations out there. It's really hard to decide what to concentrate on. And to add to that, like I like to do hard things. I every once in a while I love doing something simple, but like I also, you know, like this project has been with me for over a year now. But
Oh my gosh.
you can see why, right?
Wow. Yeah, that requires
Right.
time and
And
concentration.
frustration, you know? So
Yeah,
like it requires like the freedom of just doing that. So I keep it for the moments when I do have that time, and if I
sure.
don't, I do something simpler. You know.
Yes.
How
Oh my
many
god.
projects on the go do you have? It's
Just
probably like
around me at the moment, 3 or 4, and then I have another 2 downstairs because I got a little excited about this challenge this week of doing the works in progress. But I think one of the things that I love most about you is that you are curious, right? So you go to your knit night and you're seeing what everyone's knitting, and people ask you to do a test knit and you want to help. And when you want to learn how to design, you learn how to design and you learn new things. And I think that that's part of what makes knitting so special is that we can like bring out the best in ourselves, that
right,
curiosity, that learning. And so I guess since you've been knitting now, you started recently knitting. I mean in terms of how
right.
you've progressed at this point, but
Yeah, I started like 7 years ago, so
right.
it's not that long. But I feel like, yeah, like I always felt like I wasted all those years not knitting, so I have to catch up. So I'm always jumping into like harder techniques and learning something new. But
Yeah.
that's another reason why I love test knitting because you don't know what you're gonna learn by
Right.
agreeing to do a test. So like I learned how to do sticking because I agreed to a test, and
Yeah.
I love that trust that designers put into their testers because every once in a while I would be like, I never done that. I don't know if I'm the right person for that. And they're like, you are exactly what we're looking for, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, because as a designer, you want to make sure that your patterns are approachable by everybody from different skill sets because you never know who's going to buy the pattern and want to knit it. They may not have whatever skill they need. And can your pattern then help them through that? So that's amazing. Um, so your stash, the oldest yarn in your stash might be around 7 years old. Are there yarns that you've had for years like that you won't knit with, that you just can't bring yourself to knit with? Or is any yarn in your stash fair game? Do you feel like,
I
yeah,
feel like it's all fair game, and there's gonna be a time for all of them. Some of them are like very special to me. Like I have some skeins that were hand spun by friends for me, and I'm looking for that like super special project that I would want to keep as an heirloom piece, right? So
yes,
there are some skeins that I just wouldn't necessarily gift to somebody or like sell, but there are also a lot of times when I love seeing new yarn. I love seeing how like, different dyers use different techniques for their yarn. I like learning about new breeds of sheep being used in yarn, or like different animals being used in yarn. And not everything necessarily is going to be to my taste and
sure.
to my aesthetic, but there's somebody out there who would love that. So sometimes I'll need something knowing that it's going to be a gift, or like I have a friend who sells on markets, and every time like if I need some shelf space, I'll just send her a bunch of my samples and she just sells it, and it helps her, but it's also like frees my shelf space
Yes.
a little bit, you know. So there is somebody out there for like almost everything you need.
Yes.
So I don't like, there are some skeins that I wouldn't part from as a final project, but I don't think like I'll keep them just as a skein,
Got
just
it.
admire it.
I understand. So you want to see what comes from the skein. You want the finished project there too. Oh, that's fabulous. And so I love what we were talking about at the beginning, that feeling of not needing to feel guilty about having yarn. And I hope that with my Summer of Stash program, I'm not making anyone feel guilty, but sometimes we need that like permission to say this yarn or this project isn't working for me. Let me move on to something fresh.
Right.
Um,
Like I have zero problem of unraveling a project that I'm working on. Like if I know it's not working out like the way I envisioned it, I have no and actually like one of the first people I interviewed was Suzanne Bryan, and Suzanne is a hand master knitter, and she has a huge YouTube channel that she shares all the knitting techniques on. And she was telling me, it's all the price of entertainment, right? Like if you're going to a movie and you're buying tickets and popcorn and it costs you whatever, $30, $40, after an hour and a half, you're done with it, and that's the cost of this hour and a half. If you buy a beautiful skein of yarn for the same $30 and you knit for a week and then it doesn't work and you unravel it and you knit for another week, you got yourself 2 weeks of entertainment for the same $30.
that's a great point. Yes, that's a really great point. And comfort too. Like we get so much joy from the knitting of it. Oh my gosh.
But also, if you think about the inflation, my stash is basically an investment, because what I used to buy for $17, $18 7 years ago is now $38. So it's like, if you look at it that way, it doubled in value.
That is so funny. That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Joking, like whenever my son comes here and I was like, I don't know if I have the right color, and he starts laughing because like apparently like he thinks I have every color, but sometimes you need that specific shade for something you're working on.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, but like, yes, I have a lot of yarn, but like I could have had a lot of, I don't know, designer bags and shoes and just do some.
exactly. Right.
So we all get our joy from different ways of spending money. And I think this is not the worst of them.
No, it's definitely not the worst of them. Um, oh my gosh, my last question just flew out of my brain. Oh, that was going to be my final question to you. So you have yarn from all over the world, all lots of different dyers, hand dyed, hand spun. I'm sure commercially spun and dyed yarns too. How do you store your yarn? Like, what's your organization when you have your yarn in tubs? Do you store by project? Do you store by gauge, fiber? How do you organize?
Like whatever you don't see here is in airtight containers. So there is no creeper scrollers or anything like that.
Yes.
And on the shelves, behind every shelf that you see, I put cedar wood, a plank
Yes.
there. And so hopefully it stays healthy. Like that's my only concern about storing it.
Got
And
it.
um, I somehow still have a great memory of like everything I'm buying. So I usually like I know that when I was interviewing Jorge Locatelli, she is superbly organized. So as soon as she gets some like whatever skeins from her travels, first thing she does before it hits her shelves, goes into the Ravelry.
Oh, wow.
So all her stash is documented on Ravelry. None of my stash is documented on Ravelry. It's all documented right here. But
That's
um, I'm like I somehow there is a system to this madness.
understood. Got it. So it's not organized like in a general way. It's just there in your brain, and you know you're gonna knit with it.
Like all the sweater quantities separate. So like
Aha.
and like this wool, it's mostly like single or double skeins of yarn. So like the all the sweater quantities are in a separate place. Like so like when the sweater time comes, like I know where to go.
Yeah.
This I use more like as a palette for shawls, so for like accent colors for
Got it.
you know.
So
And
a
then
little bit by project is how you have it stored, but you've got the organization in your mind. That's amazing. Oh my
but
gosh.
you know how like when you travel, the best part about traveling, half of the best of it, right, is planning the travels and
Yes.
about where you're gonna go and what food you're gonna try and like what hotels you're gonna stay. For me, stash is the same thing. Like half of the joy of knitting is dreaming about future projects and what yarn you're gonna use. And this is like why you need stash for that as well.
That's such a beautiful way to look at it too. That's really beautiful. Like it's travel but in your hands.
Right.
That's so cool. Oh, thank you, Irina. I really like chatting about stash with you today. And
Yeah.
one day I hope to see your stash in person. Um,
Come visit, yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you. I saw some comments on the side. A lot of happy anniversaries to you for
Thank
your 4 years of Fiber Chats, which is phenomenal. It's really amazing. So yeah, please check it out. Anyone who is tuning in right now, check out Irina's amazing channel on YouTube and Instagram. All right.
thank thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.